The Dallas Cowboys went into the NFL draft with their sights set on Ted McMillan at 12. When that didn't happen, they made a move for George Pickens, which honestly shocked me and probably a lot of you, but I couldn't be happier with that trade. The offense obviously needed playmakers, and now the wide receiver room is CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and then who? Who is going to be the third wide receiver for this team? I don't think the answer to that question is as easy as some people might believe, so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Let's get into it. With Lamb and Pickens being who they are, the Cowboys' 1-2 punch at wide receiver is great. But what would make this offense elite is solid production from their wide receiver 3. I think if you asked most people who they think the wide receiver 3 is right now, they'd probably say Jaylen Tolbert. I mean, he was drafted by the Cowboys. He had the most touchdowns for this team last year. Dak likes him. Dak has vouched for him on numerous occasions. It seems like he's the clear-cut front runner at wide receiver 3. But I don't think that's 100% the case. Brian Schottenheimer said that everyone is going to compete in training camp, and whoever shows up ultimately gets the job. And although Tolbert was drafted by the Cowboys, the team also traded for Jonathan Mingo. So who wins that job? And who ultimately takes this offense to a different level? Let's look at Jaylen Tolbert, Jonathan Mingo, and see which one does that in training camp and into the regular season. We're going to start with Jaylen Tolbert, 26 years old. He's 6'1", 195 pounds, as many of you know. Cowboys drafted him in the 3rd round, pick number 88 overall from South Alabama. In 2024, he played in 17 games where he had 49 catches, 610 yards, 7 touchdowns with 12.4 yards per reception. And the thing I think with Tolbert is he did have a good year. Like, that's solid wide receiver 3 production in my opinion. It's serviceable production. Is it as good as you would like it to be? No. Is it as consistent as you would like it to be? No. Some people are going to bring up the fact that he had Cooper Rush throwing in the ball for half a season. But the thing is, you can't really blame it on Rush. His numbers really weren't all that great before Dak's injury. It's not like he was lighting the league on fire with his play when Dak was there versus when Cooper Rush started the back half of the year. During the first 8 games of the season with Dak as the starting quarterback, Tolbert had 1 catch for 12 yards against the Browns. He had a pretty good game in week 2 against the Saints, but a lot of that came in garbage time when the Cowboys couldn't move the ball and got absolutely destroyed. He had 6 catches for 82 yards. And then week 3 against the Ravens, another blowout until the Cowboys came back later in the game. He had 3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. His best game of the year came in week 5 against the Steelers, where he had 7 catches for 87 yards, 1 touchdown. That touchdown obviously won Dallas the game, and I thought that's where he took a step forward. Him and Kevontae Turpin both had excellent games. I thought that was a step in the right direction for Tolbert. Thought he was going to be an impact player for the rest of the year, and then it just kind of went downhill. He had 4 catches against the Lions, 3 catches against the 49ers, 3 catches against the Falcons for 19 yards in that game. One of those catches was a touchdown, but the weeks that Dak were healthy, weeks 1 through 8, Tolbert had 30 catches for 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 11.8 yards per reception. With Cooper Rush, it is a little bit different. Obviously, everybody's numbers took a dip. He had 19 catches in weeks 9 through 18, 257 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, and 13.5 yards per reception. But the context of him being the wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1 at times, those numbers are solid for a wide receiver 3, especially if you have a tight end like Jake Ferguson that kind of acts as that second or third option in an offense. But when you look at it in the context of him as the wide receiver 2 and sometimes even wide receiver 1, which he was with Cooks getting injured, missing a ton of time, and then you had CD missing games with a shoulder injury towards the end of the year, like Tolbert was acting as your first and second option for a good part of the year. But that production is not good enough for a wide receiver 1 and 2 role. And with the Cowboys trading a top 100 pick for George Pickens, the front office was telling us it's not good enough. And that's not even the first trade that they made for a wide receiver. They watched Jaylen Tolbert play weeks 1 through 8, still chose to go out and get Jonathan Mingo. The Pickens trade wasn't the rich get richer trade. It wasn't, oh, we have CD and Tolbert, like, let's go add another receiver and then we'll be super dominant. That was more of we need a lot of help in the wide receiver room and we have to make this move. So the tea leaves are there from the Cowboys that Jaylen Tolbert is anything but a for sure piece of this offense this year. Bring in a new head coach in Brian Schottenheimer. I think the competition just gets raised another level. And the guy that he's probably going to be competing with for snaps is Jonathan Mingo. And I know, it's hard to say that the guy that had just 5 catches for 46 yards after Dallas traded for him last year is really going to make that much of a push for wide receiver 3. But hear me out, guys. It is possible. He's still young, just 24 years old. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. He was selected 39th overall by the Panthers out of Ole Miss. In 2024, he played 9 games with Carolina, played 8 games in Dallas, where he had just 17 catches for 167 yards. He didn't have a touchdown and had 9.8 yards per reception. Obviously, as a second-round pick, those numbers are insanely disappointing. He should definitely be more productive than that, even with the poor quarterback play. And as bad as the quarterback play was, those numbers are abysmal, and they shouldn't give you a ton of hope. The Panthers moved on just a year and some change into his rookie deal, and the Cowboys traded a 4th-round pick for him, which still feels like an insane overpay, but here's the thing. His physical tools and potential, especially coming out of Ole Miss, they're there. They are there. He tested as a really good athlete at the combine at 220 pounds. He ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. He had a 39.5-inch vertical. He had a 10'9" broad jump. He has the ability as a downfield threat. He can make contested catches. He can be that big body over the middle. I think he could play some power slot snaps for you as well. And then you factor in the blocking. Like, he's a better blocker than Jaylen Tolbert. And we know with Brian Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams, they're going to be wanting to run a ton of outside stuff. It's going to require your wide receivers to block well. He is bigger and stronger than Tolbert. Like, he can actually seal the edge. But who wins the job? I think it's important because it means a lot for the 2025 offense. And in my opinion, going into camp as of right now, I think Tolbert probably does. He has the time with Dak Prescott. Remember, the Cowboys traded for Mingo way too late for him to get any reps with Dak at quarterback. And then you have to factor in Tolbert is a training camp warrior. Like, do you guys remember last year where he was just making insane catches? He was so good at training camp, climbing the ladder, plucking the ball over people's heads. Like, I think that's the thing with Tolbert is he can make those crazy plays. Training camp, he did it last year, just not consistent enough. But I definitely wouldn't count out Jonathan Mingo, like him figuring it out. I know projection and hope will get you fired in the NFL, unless you're the Dallas Cowboys and it's a family thing, but projection and hope that a guy is going to be good does not get you very far. My last point in this video is going to be Dallas is going to rely on Lamb and Pickens. Lamb will be the main target, the number one option. He can win all over the field, down the seam, down the sideline, underneath, over the top. Does not matter. Lamb will lead this team in receiving yards. Then Dallas traded for the guy that stretches the field in George Pickens. He's a big body on the outside, contested catches down the sideline. Although he can do some more stuff underneath than I think we've seen in the past, he'll fit into that role in this offense. For Jaylen Tolbert and Jonathan Mingo, they're going to be playing a lot on the outside because Lamb gets a lot of his snaps in the slot. But I think Tolbert / Mingo are going to be playing opposite of George Pickens a lot. And here's the problem that I really run into and projecting how these two really fit in this offense. They're kind of the same lesser version of George Pickens. Like, they're not to that level of play down the field, contested catch ability, not by the slightest amount, but they're kind of just the same player. So it makes me really curious of how these guys really fit into this offense. Maybe Tolbert and Mingo are battling it out for their spot, and that opens the door for Kavontae Turpin to go in there and make plays, actually get chances as a receiver in the passing game. Your top two receivers are awesome, and then if Ferguson shows up and has a year similar to 2023, the offense is going to be rolling. But if you can figure out that wide receiver 3 role, that fourth target on offense, they don't have to light the league on fire, they can just consistently win. A receiver like that will send this offense into a completely different stratosphere. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what that battle brings out in camp. Honestly, my favorite position battle when the Cowboys probably get to camp in July. It's going to be very interesting. I want to see Jonathan Mingo with a halfway competent quarterback because I don't think we've seen him even scratch the surface. We've seen Jaylen Tolbert play a ton with Dak. We know what he is, but the unknown of Jonathan Mingo, I think, adds a lot of interest in that wide receiver battle. So that's going to do it for today. Just kind of wanted to lay out my thoughts, tell you about Tolbert, Mingo, where I think this battle is headed, who I think could potentially win it. Right now, I'm leaning towards Tolbert. Maybe Mingo changes my mind. I'm very interested to see what the Cowboys' overall plan is for these guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. I promise. Bye.